PTSD is not unnatural, and long-lasting effects of predator-induced fear with the likely effect of fecundity and survival are the norm in nature. This quote in predator-induced fear causes PTSD-like changes in the brains and behavior of wild animals, a stimulus provided by College Board. Highlights the biological underpinnings of the fear response and how exposure to threats can leave a lasting impact. Military personnel are routinely exposed to life-threatening situations and violence during combat. This exposure to trauma can be a significant risk factor for developing PTSD. The fact that similarities are observed in animals suggests an evolutionary basis for the fear response and its potential for developing into PTSD-like symptoms. This strengthens that PTSD is not simply a psychological issue, but has biological roots triggered by extreme threats. Good afternoon, my name is Jasmine Martinez, and this is PTSD and Anger in Male Veterans. Now that we have that covered, let's move on to my research question, which is, in the context of the male U.S. veteran population, is the quantitative relationship between the presence of PTSD and the prevalence of anger management concerning? My argument is that exposure to traumatic events during military services leading to post-traumatic stress disorder is a substantial contributing factor to the development of anger issues in American male veterans. First, we will look at how PTSD directly alters brain chemistry and nervous system responses. Second, we'll look at how symptoms like intrusive memories and flashbacks can trigger anger responses. And finally, how the emotional toll contributes to anger. To start, we have brain chemistry. A meta-analysis published in Neuroscience and Behavioral Reviews found that veterans with PTSD had significant reductions in gray matter volume in the amygdala and hippocampus, brain regions involved in fear processing and emotional memory. As you can see here in the graph provided by JAMA Psychiatry, the gray matter in the amygdala and the hippocampus were reduced by 7 and 10%. This decrease in brain matter contributes to hyperarousal and difficulty regulating emotions, which are hallmarks of PTSD and can manifest as anger outbursts. Additionally, research published by Ned H. Callan, a Hedberg professor and chair of the Department of Psychiatry of the University of Wisconsin, suggests that veterans with PTSD have abnormal activity levels of the neurotransmitter norepinephrine. Studies have pinpointed a specific percentage change, but the research suggests a link between increased norepinephrine activity and aggressive behavior. It's involved in the body's fight or flight response, increasing alertness, heart rate, and preparing for action. The heightened sense of threat can quickly escalate into hostile behaviors. Next, we'll look at intrusive memories and flashbacks. A study by the American Psychiatric Association was conducted in 2017 to establish a clear link between flashbacks, intrusive memories, and increased anger in veterans with PTSD. This study employed a longitudinal design measuring. It followed veterans with PTSD over an extended period, allowing it to identify patterns and potential cause and effect relationships. The study found a positive correlation between the severity of flashbacks and intrusive memories and the level of anger reported. Importantly, the study also found that the severity of flashbacks and intrusive memories predicted the level of anger experienced. This suggests a potential link where PTSD symptoms contribute to the development of worsening anger issues. Lastly, we'll look at emotional toll. A study in comorbidity and post-traumatic stress disorder and depression in a national sample of veterans led by Dr. Walensky, a professor in the Department of Psychology at University of Houston, showed that veterans with PTSD were most likely to experience symptoms of depression and anxiety. These negative emotions can contribute to anger issues. As you can see in the graph provided from a study by Marenza Malika, the correlation between anger and depression is 0.636, which is a strong positive correlation. This means that people scored high on anger also tended to score high on depression. These findings highlight how PTSD, depression, and anger often form a complex web of negative emotions in veterans, potentially creating significant health burden. To combat this burden, here are two simple solutions I propose. Normalizing conversations about PTSD and anger in veterans can help reduce stigma and encourage veterans to seek help. Advocacy campaigns and community events can raise awareness and encourage understanding. However, access to education and resources may be limited, especially for veterans in rural areas or those with transportation difficulties. My second solution is to connect with mental health professionals. However, the limitations to this are that availability and affordability of mental health professionals can be a significant barrier for veterans. Thank you.
All right, two questions for you. How valid and reliable were the sources you used, and then how do you know?
All my sources were very reliable, and I know that because I got them from EBSCO, a lot of them from EBSCO, which College Board provided, and most of them were academic peer-reviewed journals.
Okay. And what kind of questions popped up as you were going through doing your research?
I mostly had questions about how like the symptoms kind of correlated with PTSD itself and how that affected the anger issues.